this request. I kind of just gotten it. It's about rambling about the 90s, my time in the 90s. I figure that's a video, kind of is easy video to just kind of make. I can just ramble here for a little bit. But yeah, let's see, in the 90s, I turned 11 in 90, so 11 to 20 were the 90s for me. So my last, 89, 90, 90, 91. So I had 2 years of elementary school and then middle school, high school, and a little bit of Nassau Community College that I had done. I did a little bit in 2000 as well. But my first year at high school, I did not go to any college. So, but yeah, 90s were fun. That was an interesting time. I mean, it kind of sucked in some ways because that's when my anxiety really started to fucking come to the forefront and panic attacks and whatnot. But a lot of cool stuff happened. It was a great time for fucking video games. I'm just trying. I'll probably just kind of pop things out, as I go. I remember seeing stuff like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Terminator 2, Air Force One, all in the drive-in movies. We saw 7, that movie 7 we saw in the drive-in as well. There might have been 1 or 2 others, I can't remember what though. Drive-ins are still, you'd sneak somebody in, hide them in the back seat, or fucking even put them in the trunk. Malls were fucking huge back then. Obviously, anybody who was around back then, even into the 2000s, malls were fucking huge. I mean, Massapequa also had Busy Bee Mall, which is like a flea market, which at times actually rivaled Sunrise Mall. You had the arcades in there. I remember going to the arcade in 7th grade when Mortal Kombat came out, and Street Fighter 2. I want to say Street Fighter 2 might have came out a little bit before Mortal Kombat did. The first Mortal Kombat. People put their quarters up on the fucking screen, Who's next? Usually someone always was awesome, but you didn't care if you lost. You just wanted to get in there and fucking experience it. And the funny thing is with the fighting games, when you one-on-one playing somebody else, you felt like you were more getting that quarter's worth than you did if you threw it in the Simpsons arcade or something like that. But the Busy Bee Mall had a little arcade upstairs. I mean, it wasn't too small. Sunrise Mall had an arcade, then it had 2 arcades at a point as well. Smaller ones, they weren't huge arcades, but they had enough games in there, plus air hockey and shit like that. A few of the grabber machines, which you obviously still see. It was always fun going to the arcade. Like I said, Busy Bee Mall had a fucking sports card store. They had a retro. I'm sorry, it wasn't even a retro game store, but it was a video game store outside of a Toys R Us or a KB would have them, shit like that. Service merchandise and shit would happen as well. Sears, but I think eBay would have had to have maybe been in the mall at some point in the early 90s as well. Yeah, it definitely was, because there's a story from the 90s. Actually, no, this is the second set of stitches. I won't mention the first set because it happened in the 80s in Florida. I got stitches in Florida in my chin, and I got stitches at the beginning of 7th grade. It might have been a month in. I don't think I ever told the story. Maybe I haven't. But I was in the shower, and we had glass shower doors. So I just kind of finished, and I pulled the fucking shower door, fell off the fucking, the track that it's on, and it hit the sink and shattered, and I was like, holy shit. I grabbed the towel, I was just like, holy shit. I didn't get cut, and I looked down, my fucking foot is just open, there's blood everywhere. I'm like, fucking someone get in here. I cut my foot open. I remember my aunt being like, you don't need stitches, I need 25 stitches. My mom brought me to the hospital. The worst part is when they shoved the fucking Novocaine or whatever into the cut, the painkiller needle into the cut. But I remember I missed a week of school because I couldn't really walk, and I was like, I don't want to fucking deal with this shit. If it was a centimeter lower, they said it would have hit tendon and shit, which would have sucked a lot more. But I remember going to EB, and my mom's like, oh, I'll get you a video game to fucking play while you're fucking holed up. I had a bunch of games anyway. I think I got Heroes of Might and Magic or some shit. No, it wasn't Heroes of Might. It was a Might and Magic game. It wasn't Heroes of Might and Magic, but it's a Might and Magic game. I classes. Yeah, so EB was definitely around. That was 91. I mean, later, end of 91. But I remember that. I remember my friend borrowed my TurboGrafx that week. But yeah, a great time for games. I mean, yeah, Genesis was out already. TurboGrafx was out. Super Nintendo came out in 91, I think. I remember like having SimCity and shit, and 7th grade was fine. I really enjoyed elementary school. 7th grade was fine too, and then 8th grade when I started to get my fucking problems. Like I remember I was fine through 8th grade, and then out of nowhere I missed some time, and I didn't want to go back. I was like dreading going back. I was terrified. I started getting paranoid and all types of weird shit. Just getting normal, like panic. And then they threatened to like send me to fucking juvie, and I went back, and the same thing happened in 9th grade. More happened there, but I moved with my dad for a little bit, and then stopped going Valley Stream North, stopped going there. Then I got in some shit, dealt with some shit, and then I had to go see like fucking shrinks and everything else. I remember too, I still have the files. I don't know if I said this, my aunt actually filed the files before she sold the Massapequa house, and she was like, oh, I found these files, I'm looking at them, it was the stuff I went to in 9th grade with the shrinks, and they were like, the shrink was like pretty much blaming the fact that I live with all women for being the way I was. It was fucking, I started to laugh, and I was like, wow, dude, you came up with the wrong one there, but hold on a sec, I need to fucking just close the door. Alright, my cat went in the bedroom, so the AC was a little louder. But I remember that, and then I was in the alternative program in high school, and I took some classes out of the alternative program, or Room 100. They called it, well, it was Room 100, but they had old names for it. High school was fun, music was great back then. I think everybody says for their generation, but the music then was like hitting. That's like when the grunge shit, came. A lot of those bands started in the late 80s and then the early 90s. Yeah, like the first Pearl Jam album, Alice in Chains' Facelift, I think came out in 90. And Dirt was 92. Nirvana had Bleach, I think, was 88. And Nevermind was 90 or 91. Or maybe it was 89 and then 91. And that took off. Fucking Nevermind. People were fucking losing their fucking shit. Soundgarden had already had an album or two out, I think. 2 albums out before Bad Motorfinger. And yeah, like the Melvins, who were before that, like kind of maybe like 86 or some shit. Their first album came out. They were kind of the originals of that sound. I consider Alice in Chains more of like a metal band, and Pearl Jam to me is more rock. The two I associate the most with grunge is definitely Nirvana and Soundgarden as well. But Soundgarden's name fits them perfectly because they are literally a garden of sound. They were like just insane with some of their shit. And then yeah, Black Album had come out in 91, I think. But a lot of fucking good music in the 90s. You had fucking Helmet putting out albums. They had Strap It On in 90, I believe. And then the Meantime was 92. And then they had Betty in 94, which is fucking amazing. Tons of fucking bands. And you still had the bands from the 80s and even some from the 70s still putting out shit as well. Iron Maiden's Fear the Dark came out in the 90s, and Bruce Dickinson left the band, but music was fucking killer. And on to Nirvana. I like Nirvana. I think Kurt Cobain was an amazing songwriter. But Nirvana, even back then, before he fucking died, in my opinion, were fucking overrated. Like, they were fucking everywhere. MTV, they were fucking all over. You also had Faith No More putting out fucking Angel Dust. The Real Thing came out in the 90s. They had albums in the 80s as well. But Patton was there for The Real Thing. But then Angel Dust was the fucking album, and King for a Day also came out in the 90s. So did Album of the Year. Angel Dust is one of my favorite, if not my favorite album of all time. But Ministry was putting out fucking sick shit in the 90s, as well as the fucking mid to late 80s as well. But there was... And Nirvana was good. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like... I appreciate him a little more now than I did then, but there's still probably... I like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains absolutely more than them. A lot more. Pearl Jam I'm not super into. I like some of their stuff is awesome, but I don't like all of it. Nirvana's similar. Incesticide was the album I liked the most, but that was like covers and B-sides. It wasn't even like a true album. In Utero is probably the actual one, I like that one out of the three where they have Bleach. Never mind. And then I think they were the first ones that had Unplugged. They were MTV. They were fucking all over. Like, and it's funny because Kurt Cobain was kind of like didn't want that fame, you know, and all that bullshit. But you know, they fucking were everywhere. In reality, that music was almost like the fucking soundtrack for people from fucking like 7th grade to like senior year in high school, you know. But some of that shit was great. Like, it had its own unique fucking sound, absolutely. But I just always thought they was overrated. My one friend couldn't fucking stand Nirvana. It was funny. I didn't hate them. I just thought they were overrated, and then they got even more overrated after he fucking died. I remember when he died. My mom was taking me and my friends to a Nets game. I'm pretty sure it was April 94, right? It was like April 7th or something. Let me fucking look that up. It was definitely 94. I know that. Come on, you fucking piece of shit phone. But I want to say, was it April 7th or like April 24th? Let's see if I'm right. On April 7th, you guys are already watching. I'm like, no, it's this date. Oh my god, I'm typing in that. April 5th. I was off by 2 days. I'm pretty sure. I was in the car with my friend. Pretty sure my mom was taking us to a Nets game. I don't know if they were playing Portland that time. I was going to see. No, Portland would have been the following year. Because I was in 9th grade when he died. But that was like the beginning of like the end of me going to school for like 2 months before I got all my shit together and dealt with a bunch of bullshit. And then surprisingly got to 10th grade fine, because when I went to Valley Stream North, my dad was custodian there. The math teacher liked me for some reason, even though I fucking probably was only there for 3 weeks, a month total. And he gave me a passing grade, so I got some credits there. I didn't have a lunch period in 10th grade. I had to make up classes for credits. I did graduate on time, though. Anyway, we were in the car going there, and it came on the radio, because we were listening to fucking, what it was, like 92.3 or some shit. And, they mentioned it, and I was like, holy shit. Me and my friend were like, holy fuck. So it was pretty shocking at the time, but like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of them. Like I said, I thought they were good, but I found them to be overrated even before he died. And then he died, and it fucking took a life of its own. You would have thought they were the fucking best band in history, and he was the best musician of all time, especially in the points after it, for the first like few years after he passed. He was a hell of a songwriter, and he's a very unique songwriter, I will say that, but he was good. But I mean, to put like they threw him on this fucking pedestal. I think Mike Patton has a lyric kind of meant towards him on Star 8D, I think it is, on King for a Day, where he's like, when you die, you become something worse than dead. You become a legend, which is pretty much what he became. And Kurt Cobain I would think from the way he was, who knows if he lived through his, got to 30 and 40 and 50. He'd probably be, what, in his 50s now, right? He's 27. Yeah, he'd be in his 50s. He'd almost be, he's 27 in 94, so 04, 14, he's 47. He'd be pushing 60 actually now. He'd be in his late 50s. I want to know how he would have changed musically. I don't think Nirvana would have lasted more than an album more, honestly. I think he would have just naturally went his own way. Because he was the fucking principal songwriter in that band, and I think he did have a little bit of a control thing, which most principal, the people who write the most songs, eventually you're just going to want to do your own thing, I think. Who knows how it went with Courtney Love, and you can obviously talk about all the shit you want with how he died, and if Courtney Love was involved in it, you see there's all types of theories about it. But I think he would have, I don't know how he would have been later on, like in life, if he would have mellowed out. But he was very he was very he had like this kind of socialist kind of attitude. I don't know if he would have changed that or what. And he was just very I feel like maybe he would have fucking retired from music after a time. I could also see that. Kind of disappeared, but after maybe another 10 years or something. But the way he's treated now, he would have fucking absolutely, his 27, 26, 25, when he got into music, that self would have hated what he became now. Random people wearing his shirt. Like, who the fuck's Nirvana? I thought it was a clothing brand, he would have fucking hated that, but that's what he became. He became a fucking legend, and they became a fucking fashion brand and all this other shit. So he might have hated that, but the cool thing is there are people who legitimately kids now who love that music, not just Nirvana, all that shit. Just like I was listening to fucking Zeppelin and Sabbath when I was in high school, you know. Your music from your time becomes the fucking oldies, which is kind of funny. Even though, you know, the Stones were still putting out an album. I think they had an album too in the 90s. Some of those 70 bands like Tom Petty and shit were still doing shit. But I remember high school, you know, first doing pot, drinking. We drank a fucking shit ton when I was in 10th grade. And then 10th I smoked pot as well. I think I first smoked pot in 9th grade, but I only did like once or twice. And then we went through and I fucking took acid and did some other, you know, coke and bullshit. You know, in high school, acid was a fucking problem. Last fucking time I took acid, I remember telling my friend, I was like, I'm done after this one, whatever. I had a bad fucking trip. Fucking sucked. I might have talked about this at some point too in one of my... I remember I talked about like my teenage years, I think, in a video. And I got fucking... I remember walking through the high school field, we had a bunch of people, and they went ahead of me, and I started spinning. I thought I was like in the middle of nothing. I was like, oh my god, the field's endless. I started bugging out. I think that attributed to my honesty, to my anxiety later on. And then I went home and I thought I was going to jump out my window, so I slammed the window down and broke the fucking handles off. But then I remember playing, another time I was tripping, I was playing NBA Live 95, I believe. And I was hooking up threes from half court, and I could swear I see the rotation in his wrist. I'm like, these graphics are so advanced. But the video games are great then. Like I said in other videos, I had a short period where I didn't play many games or get new ones. I played some, but then the N64 came out when I was in a senior, and that really exploded my love of games again into really what it is today. But yeah, you know, hanging out at the fucking field. The field was right around the block from where I lived. We'd go there. There ended up being, I remember hanging out with my friends, and there was other people on the other side, and all of a sudden they came over, and they're like, holy shit, Rich, and they were saying my other friends' names, and people I knew from elementary school, and you meet them again. Big groups of people used to hang out at the high school, and the security would come, and they'd have to kick everybody out. But I remember getting gored a lot in high school, especially drinking. I had a bit of a drinking problem for a short period in high school. But the funny thing is my tolerance was probably the highest it was in high school. Now I drink like 4 beers, I'm fucking done. But I drank back then to get fucked up. Like, I couldn't give a fuck about the taste. Some of that shit, you know, get the 40 ounces. Country Club was the fucking cheapest. It was like $1.50 for 40. There's places you could go that are long gone now. I remember this guy we went to on 110 was like, I just lost my liquor license, pulled the fucking car around to pop the trunk. That guy's either dead and that place is gone. I think it was called Fred's. It's been gone for fucking probably 20 years. But we used to go there, or you'd have, you know, like everybody else, you'd have people you knew that were a little bit older, or that, you know, you'd have a brother that was older of somebody, and you get booze from them as well. Me and my 2 friends used to get, this one guy used to get us the case of 16-ounce buds. I remember once, it was me and 2 other people, me and my friend and 2 other people that we knew. I'd hang out with them all the time. My friend got like, we mixed jungle juice, just a bunch of liquors together into Poland Spring balls. It was during high school, and my other friend was playing football. Like, if they were after gym, we were drinking at the bleachers. We were so fucked up. We're like, yeah, we were watching play football. But they were good times. But when you're younger, you think you can fucking do whatever the fuck you please, you know, and you're fucking indestructible. But then, like by 12th grade, like I was always like, I never liked confrontation even when I was younger, but I also didn't like big crowds and stuff, but whatever, you deal with it. But then 12th grade, I started to fucking, something happened in like February 97, I started to feel weird. I got this weird feeling in my ribs. This is strange, I know. And fucking, all of a sudden I remember smoking pot one day, and I fucking was like, oh, I started flipping. I went up to my mom was sleeping, because she worked night, she was a cop. I was like, I'm fucking losing it. She's like, what the hell's wrong with you? I stopped smoking and drinking. Like, I did not want to alter the way I felt because I was afraid to. Like, I'm not saying if like the acid I took, because a lot of people say it lingers in your body and maybe something got triggered from pot and I started to lose it, you know. Shit opens up parts of your brain that you don't want to, acid and like kind of psychedelic shit. And I was like, fuck. And like, there was months of 12th grade. Like, it was like February, March, April. I fucking felt awful. Not all the time, but I would get panic attacks. I remember getting one of my first, like, I used to get bad headaches, but this was one those really bad ones. I thought my head was gonna blow up. It was nuts. But that all sucked, you know. And it went on for a while into the 2000s. I mean, I'm fine now, but I still have my anxiety and my panic and shit. But there were periods where it was I've talked about this in past in anxiety videos where I felt like I was nothing, like I was afraid, like all of a sudden I was hoping there was rails next to me that I could grab onto. I thought I was just gonna fall into nothing. And it was such an awful feeling, like you felt like I put on more layers of clothes to feel more of a person, you know, type shit. That sucked, but I went to a lot of cool concerts. And my first concert was 95, was Van Halen at Jones Beach. I think that was on the Balance tour. Then we saw the Eagles in 96 on the Hell Freezes Over tour. That was an amazing concert. I saw Aerosmith in 97 at the Garden. Megadeth in 98 at Hammerstein Ballroom. That was a fucking amazing show. That was on the Cryptic Writings tour. I saw Metallica in 98 at the Meadowlands. And we saw them again. Well, we saw them, after in 98 November, we saw them on the Cover tour. They played like 5 shows. Online at the fucking Tower Records. Me and 4 of my friends were the first. There's 5 of us total, but the 4 of us were the first online, and then there was some other person, and then another friend. So 10 of us ended up going to that. It was at Roseland Ballroom in the city, and all Metallica played was covers, and the band that opened for them only played Metallica, which was cool. But it was a fucking amazing show. It was nuts. What else did I see in the 90s? My first Maiden show was in 2000, so that doesn't count. Page and Plant, I believe I saw in 99. Same thing with Roger Waters. Tom Petty. I saw Tom Petty twice in 99. We saw him in Irving Plaza, I think. And yeah, I talked about this maybe. I had to go to this show. Because whoever got a ticket, you had to sign and show your ID when you got there. It was fucking weird. You'd have a ticket for you and someone else, and you had to show it for the person. It was fucking stupid. And I was starting to have panic attacks, and I was getting that feeling weeks leading up to I had to go. And I stupidly, once again, there was like 10 or 12 of us who went to this. I went to the middle of this fucking thing, and I remember my friend passed out from the fucking heat. This place, they oversold this concert. It was a serious fire hazard. He passed out. I thought it was me passing out. I started bugging out, so I picked him up, brought him to the back. We got ice, and then I thought I was having a heart attack. My friend goes, "Is this your first one?" I'm like, "No, it's like my 5th." I'm fucking. At the time, I don't think I was 20 yet. I think I was 19. Yeah, this is my like 5th. I ended up going to a hospital. And he came with me, and the guy the doctor there just assumed I was on coke. He's like, "There's a rehab on the 2nd floor," and he goes like this. I'm like, "It's a panic attack." I'm thanking everybody and shit. That sucked. But I saw him again at Jones Beach, so I saw half that show, and I saw him. I'm probably missing a few bands. Steve Miller Band we saw in the Hofstra Gym. That was ridiculous. The security for that was insane for a fucking show in the Hofstra Gym. We got caught smoking twice in there. I remember somebody else we were with. It's like I could have just sat at home, put on his greatest hits, and had a strobe light in my room. Like I said, I might be missing a few shows as well. From the 90s. But yeah. High school was fun though. Until I started getting panic attacks, but that was the end of high school when that started happening. Like I said, video games were hopping. You had to, especially in the beginning of 90. Like I said, I probably had like maybe 95, 96 where I didn't have as much interest. I would still play certain games, but I wasn't getting new ones. But before that, I mean, Super Nintendo, even the regular Nintendo, original NES, but Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx, Genesis, all that shit. You had like the Game Gear, the Game Boy going strong. Atari Lynx, the Neo Geo came out if you fucking had rich parents. That thing was like $800 and the games were like $300 a piece. It was fucking nuts. But the thing is, it's funny about video games. People complain about them hitting 70 now. I remember me and my friend, even at the N64, Road Rash was $70. I think we split that one. Like, Mortal Kombat was 70 or 80. Link to the Past was like $70, $80. They were all over the place, the price of games. They would fucking hit $90, $100 back then. It was fucking crazy. I remember one time, when you went to Toys R Us back in the day, they had slips you would pull out. So around Christmas, you would pull a slip out, bring it home. You'd think games are sold out because everybody would take the slips home with them. And my mom went there and she took out Shadow Dancer, Michael Jackson Moonwalker, and put them behind her back. And I chose one hand. I chose Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Great game, by the way. I ended up getting Shadow Dancer later on, which was also awesome. But in Toys R Us, they had a room where you would take your slip, and it was just fucking, like, to the ceiling, wall-to-wall fucking games in there. It was like, oh my god, if I can get in there for 5 minutes. I collected sports cards back then. I remember getting boxes from that card store in Busy Bee Mall. Used to go into fucking, there's a movie theater in Sunrise Mall. Used to see a lot of movies in there. I remember seeing like Demon Knight. I remember I was like 14 or 15. I think I was still 14 because I'm pretty sure Pulp Fiction came out in 94. Either way, was not 17. Got tickets to that movie. No fucking problem. It was very strange because in that movie Half Baked with Dave Chappelle came out and they gave us a hard time about it. But Pulp Fiction, it was weird. Sometimes when we saw Lawnmower Man in the theater, we got tickets to another like PG movie and just walked into fucking Lawnmower Man. You could do that in the Sunrise Mall's movie theater. You can leave a movie and just go into another one. I remember seeing the South Park movie in there. Although I might have been old enough to see Half Baked, so maybe it was something else. Natural Born Killer was another one we had no problem fucking seeing. Like, what? So it depended on whoever was fucking working in there. Because you'd buy your tickets at a booth outside of the theater, then go in there. And you'd always go to this candy shop and buy candy and just bring it in there instead of paying fucking... Even back then, this shit was more expensive than everything else. But the 90s were fun. They were fucking a cool time. It was cool music. Good video games, great movies and shit. People of every generation dresses in a strange way. I never dressed in the baggy pants and shit. And the funny thing is with me in high school, I guess you can consider me like a burnout, but I hung out with everyone, like the freaks, jocks, nerds, whatever the fuck you were calling people, right? I hung out with everybody. I loved it. I got along with like everybody, and people would start to hang around me and be like, dude, you're fucking weird, because I was always saying weird shit and doing weird things back then. But I didn't have the look of someone that would do it, because I never fucking cared about how I looked. I was like, I'm just dressed, whatever, t-shirt, jeans, I don't give a fuck. And I remember in the room 100, I'd bring kids back on the breaks to come home real quick. We'd get high in my garage. We used to get high in my fucking garage all the time in high school. And my mom was a cop. She's upstairs sleeping. And this kid got paranoid as fuck. He hears like a cop car on Sunrise Highway. He's like, oh my god, they're coming to get us. I'm like, dude, my mom's cop and she's sleeping upstairs. She's like, oh my god, oh my god. And I remember I went back to class one time and the teacher fucking loved me. And in this fucking room 100, I can go on about stories about this place. But they had like crazy things where you couldn't come back with a fucking parent. You like get detention with your fucking parents. It was nuts. And then after like the first year of them hardcore being strict, they stopped giving a fuck as time went on. But I come back and she's like, I don't care if you go out and smoke because you come back and do your work, but the other people don't. I was like, all right, because I'd be baked. I'd come back and do all my fucking work. Me and my friends used to get high. We used to go down to Richard Place, play basketball to 100. We'd stop at 50, get high, and play again. Like we weren't like stoners, laughing like idiots. Sometimes we would, but we play video games as well. Sometimes in the garage, we have a Genesis hooked up, play NHL and shit like that. But we like being active. We were like, fuck, let's play some fucking hoops. We used to play a ton of basketball back then. We played some hockey as well, but basketball, like everybody was playing. Burns Park was another place you could play, Marjorie Post Park and shit like that. It was good times, man. The 90s were fun. Everybody has their fun times, right? And yeah, I was a kid in the 80s, and the 80s were great too, but I was a teenager in the 90s. Tail end of my kid years into my teenage years. But I had a lot, I can go on and on about the 90s, and what I was doing and shit. Like I said, panic attacks came in, bad things started to happen as well towards the later 90s, which kind of set me on a path that took a long time to get out of mentally, and still pops up from time to time. You never fully escape that stuff, but and I went to a lot of fucking Yankee games in the early 90s, some Met games as well. I was going to some Islander games in the 90s, but I remember going to the 92-93 playoffs. Islanders against, I think I might have told the story too. Islanders against, it was me, my brother. I have a half-brother and 2 half-sisters. He was there. They were all like 10, 11 years older. It was me, him, and his friend. It was the Islanders versus the Capitals in the first round of that playoffs. So it would have been 93. And we had really good seats, like fourth row. Islanders won, I think, in double OT. I don't think it was the game where Dale Hunter fucking dirty hit fucking Turgeon and fucked them up. But anyway, they win in overtime, and Darius Kasparaitis, rookie season, I'm pretty sure, he fucking throws his stick into the fucking crowd like a javelin, right? Like, we're here, and he throws it like in this section here. It hits this woman right in the fucking eye. Boom. She goes like this. Oh, he puts her hand over her eye for like a few seconds, moves it away, and her eye was like this quickly. Was like boom. I remember my brothers just being like, catch the fucking stick. Somebody just threw a fucking souvenir in the crowd, but who the fuck's expecting a stick to be fucking whipped at him? And she probably wasn't paying attention. I just remember her fucking, that getting in and be like this. And fucking, her moved her hand away, and it was just like, oh. It was a great game, though. They won that series, then beat the Penguins in 7 to stop their fucking back-to-back titles, then lost to the Canadiens in the conference finals. And then they got swept the next year. They got their ass kicked by the Rangers, and then they missed the playoffs like 7 straight years. But I still went to a few games at the Coliseum. Always fun going to the Coliseum, even though it was kind of dumpy. It had a great feel and atmosphere to it. Even though it wasn't state-of-the-art, they remember the Islanders trying to get another arena, even in the fucking early 90s. And for them to finally get a permanent home, it took till fucking last season. Think about that. They were fucking trying to get out of there in the 90s. Or not out of there, but trying to get a new arena in the fucking 90s. They ended up in the Barclays, which wasn't even made for hockey. And start coming back to fucking the Coliseum to play after their game. And they finally get the UBS Arena by Belmont in fucking, 21, 22? The fuck out of here. It took fucking like 30 years. And then they had that guy, what was his fucking name? Who fucking didn't have the money and somehow bought the Islanders. Of course that happens to the Islanders. He has like no money and it's a big fucking scam and all this shit. They did the thing on ESPN about it. I can't remember his fucking name. He fucking scammed his way into buying. I mean, franchises back then were obviously a lot of money, but not. The Islanders didn't cost a bunch of money, but the guy still had like no money. Can't remember his name. But yeah, that's just some. And I remember, another baseball game real quick was the Yankees versus the Mariners 95 playoffs. They ended up losing to the Mariners in 5, but they won a 15-inning game. That was awesome. And the Bronx, that was a good game. My first football game was in the 90s actually as well. 95 season. No wait, it was 94 season. The start of the 90s. 10th grade it would have been. Me and my friend and my mom she wanted to get me tickets to the Jets versus the Broncos, but it was sold out. She was able to get tickets to them versus the Bills on Monday Night Football. So I remember I stayed out of school for like a day, so my friend went up there, or 2 days. We drove up there on like a Sunday, went to Monday Night Football. Denver lost. I remember Elway was driving at the end to try to tie the game, but it didn't pan out. I remember the guy behind me was like, oh, tough luck, and kind of joking around. That was a pretty good time though, so. Yeah, but, that's a lot of the 90s talk there, and thanks for checking us out.